If I'm multiplying numbers in scientific notation, one tendency we have is getting out our calculators and just typing in 3.5 times 10 to the 7th times 1.2 times 10 to the negative second. But we're going to look at things a little bit more algebraic today. So because of the commutative property, let's write this down. Commutative property of multiplication. Whenever I have a bunch of numbers multiplied together, like A times B times C, what I can do is I can change the order of those multiplications and they still should come out to the same exact answer. So for example, I could change this to A times C times B. Or I could change it to B times C times A. Either way, all of these should always equal the same exact answer. And this is going to be a key idea here in this section because we are going to basically use the commutative property to simplify this rather than just plugging it into our calculator. So let's go ahead and look at what I mean. If I notice here, I have two types of numbers. I have just normal decimal numbers like 3.5 and 1.2. And then I have base and exponents. So I have 10 to the 7th power and 10 to the negative second power. And I also notice that all of my operations are multiplication, right? This is multiplication, and it may not say it with a multiplication symbol, but we know that this is a multiplication here. That's a multiplication. And this is also a multiplication. So because all of this is multiplied, I can use my commutative property to kind of simplify this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write the order of the multiplication different. So I'm going to write it as 3.5, and instead of times 10 to the 7th power, I'm going to write it as times 1.2. And then instead of 1.2 times 10 to the negative second power, I'm going to write it as 10 to the 7th power times 10 to the negative second power. And now this is a little bit nicer because I can go ahead and now just grab my calculator, type in 3.5 times 1.2, and I should get 4.2. And then if I do 10 to the 7th power times 10 to the negative second power, if you use the product rule of multiplication, then that gets me times 10 to the 7 plus negative 2, which is 5th power. And so now I can write this in scientific notation rather than plugging all of this into my calculator and then working backwards from a decimal into scientific notation. This way, I can simplify it all at once using the commutative property of multiplication up here.